Hello, family members. Hope you're having a nice day today. Oh, Kimmy, don't get tangled up my remote. Okay, there we go. Kimmy's probably going to try to jump up here. Come here, baby. Come here. Whatever. Anyway. Well, I'm sure you've heard about Trump's big, beautiful bill and all the hoopla about Medicaid and all of that. And, how the cuts are going to kill people and people don't seem to care. Well, I'm living that reality beyond just that. I'm living the reality of trying to fight my way through the disability system to get the money that I paid into Social Security insurance my entire working life to get. And yet, here I am, nearly 4 years into this sickness, 3.5 years since the last time I was able to work, and I'm still fighting. Keem, lay down, baby. All right. You're gonna have to deal with a dog in the way, I guess. Anyway, the system is designed to fail. I mean, there's just no way around that. It's designed to find any excuse that they can to not pay out. And it's so funny to me how that is just the long-term accepted norm. I've had so many people tell me, oh, it took me 3 or 4 years to get disability. It took me 3 tries. It took me this, it took me that. And my own father had the same experience. He literally worked until he physically could not work anymore and yet was not able to draw the insurance that he paid into, you know? The systems that we are supposed to get, that are supposedly our rights and our privileges as taxpaying Americans, those are of dubious value. Because at the end of the day, efficiency, we're not efficient. People like me who are unable to work, are unable to be productive in this society, are just not valued. And it's really funny to me because I know I'm very important to my community. I know that, my goddaughter, who is staying with me this summer, is absolutely dependent on me for emotional support, and so is her mother and her sister. And my family, my parents, especially, very much, I help them with a lot of their emotional labor. I provide a listening ear. I provide advice occasionally, although the thing about advice, this is your auntie telling you right now. Advice is only good when it's asked for, and if people don't take it, you do not get offended, okay? Okay, that's some words from your auntie. Anyway, we are just not valued, and that is a eugenicist ideology, looking at humans and trying to quantify our productivity, our ability to be valuable to society, right? And, it's something that has been a part of this country's nature for a long time, but it's getting more and more out in the open. We forget that industry is so unnatural, that the idea that you could skim off half a cent in production costs on something and make a product marginally worse and make a huge profit for a company, that's not something you see in nature, you know? There isn't the same incentive to cut every little scrap when you're not talking about things on an industrial scale. When you're talking about things on a scale more akin to a local craftsman or a small regional operation. That's why big business is just incentivized to make everything worse for the consumer and more profitable for the very people at the top, and squeeze the employees for as much of their labor as you can get without paying them a fair wage for it. We forget how much our government subsidizes businesses that engage in these practices of underpaying people because of things like SNAP and Medicaid. And essentially what we're doing with some of these cuts is we may very well be bringing to bear some very ugly realities of our economy. You know, when people are unable to get financial assistance, they can't afford to work. I mean, I know that this is maybe a hard concept for people who've never had to worry about money, but when you don't have much, just getting to and from work can be a major expense. You know, maintaining a vehicle, the cost of operating it, gas, insurance, other types of maintenance. You know, the amount of time that you have to give to getting there, because the odds are not that great that you'll get a job near you, because we don't build housing near where people work. We build housing way out here in the suburbs. In the place where I live, we have almost 100,000 people in this town and basically no work here. This is essentially a bedroom community for 100,000 people who all have to drive probably a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes for work, and that's probably a very bare minimum. It's probably closer to an hour or two for a lot of people who drive into the city, because I live close enough to Orlando that there are definitely people who live in my neighborhood who commute to Orlando every day. And that's expensive, especially since, you know, around cities there's toll roads and there's all other sorts of things that you might have to consider as far as costs. And so when you make it so that you can't, with the meager amount of money that you get from your job, support yourself, and you don't have anything supplementing that, you don't have Medicaid or you don't have SNAP benefits to supplement that, then it's very possible that the job that you had, you will lose the ability to actually get to it on a consistent basis. And when that happens, it's very likely that you'll lose that job, because employers expect you to always fit their time frame with very little wiggle room, especially lower paying, you know, like entry level type jobs. Kimmy is watching my goddaughter walk by, and it's really cute actually in camera to watch her watch you. Oh my gosh. Very, very cute. She loves you. But our country, does it love us? Maybe not.
I'm
She's not so sure, huh? It's really, it's not surprising to see how blatant the eugenicist ideology is getting. Like, it just doesn't even surprise me anymore. The whole, like, Medicaid thing, I was just like, well, I knew when Trump got elected the first time that it would cause people to die, and it did. And I knew when he got elected this time that there was going to be a lot of people died as a consequence. And of course, that's happening. I mean, the USAID stuff, all sorts of things. I mean, think about how many people are afraid to go to work or school, although it's summer, it's not so much school, but because they're afraid they may be targeted, even if they are American citizens, Without due process, how do you prove that? How do you prove that you're allowed to be somewhere if you're not given a chance to prove it? You just can't, If the state decides that they're going to detain you, they're going to detain you. And the only way that you can necessarily prevent that is just not give them the opportunity. And going to work, going to the grocery store, going to anything in public places, that could be giving the state access to you, to your physical person. At which point, they could do whatever with you. We already have seen this. It's so funny how slowly we've marched towards this eugenicist, fascist reality that our country has become. It's something that you can see the seeds of it way back. And I would say probably the 60s, when they decided to try to make homosexuality, equivalent to pedophilia by changing the translation of the Bible so that it says homosexuals instead of pedophiles, which is a very different thing. And once that process of conflation started, a boogeyman was created that has carried them through. It's given, there's the two things that you really see a deep, abiding hatred for in conservative right-wing circles is people who they see as sexual deviants, which includes gay people and pedophiles equally, which is really dumb, but it is the way that a lot of these people think. And, trans people, of course, are thrown in there. Asexual, aromantic people are thrown in there. Anyone who they consider a deviant. Polyamorous people, anyone who doesn't play by their agreed upon set of rules. And then the other thing that they hate is abortion. And the reason that they hate abortion is because they also see it as being related to sexual deviance. They see it as being a way of getting out of the consequences of your loose, immoral actions. And that's just not how abortion works. And, it's so weird to have people who have this mindset that if someone steps out of line and has sex in a way they're not supposed to, that they deserve any punishment that they could get, including, for a woman, getting pregnant can very well be a death sentence. Like, we don't like to talk about that, but in the United States, our maternal mortality is way higher than it ought to be for a developed country, and it's way worse for minority populations. Like, my sister-in-law is black. Every time that she's been pregnant, all 3 times, I've been terrified for her safety because I know that maternal mortality for black women, black American women, like my sister-in-law, it's way too high, way too high. And her last pregnancy was a rough one, and the baby was born premature, and it was really a harrowing experience. And her older sister had a very similar experience with her daughter. So it's not like some theoretical thing for me. This is something that has happened in my immediate family. I've seen black women get dubiously good maternity care in the American healthcare system. And we don't do anything about that. Because this is a country where we don't care about people who are considered lesser. And that can be the Medicaid recipient, that could be the SNAP recipient, that could be a disabled person, that could be a rape victim, it could be a black person, a Muslim, Jewish person, anybody who deviates from what the conservative right considers to be normal. We're all at risk. And they want to breed a better society by getting rid of people like me. Getting rid of people who are trans and gay and bi and polysexual and polyamorous and pansexual and asexual. They want to get rid of all of us. Non-binary people, binary trans people, anyone who they see as deviant. And their idea of what is normal is just so narrow and so rooted in white supremacist ideology. I hate to have to say it, but it's the truth. There is a very strong eugenicist, white supremacist ideology that is driving the American right now. It's blatant, it's out in the open, and the project is going to kill people like me, maybe even me, who knows. I have to admit, I hadn't been struggling with not wanting to be here since my goddaughter got here. I usually have an easier time with my mental health in the summers when she's around. I hadn't thought anything like that for a long time until today, until I got the call from the lawyer saying, no, we're not going to give you the disability that you paid for. You used to have a sedentary job, and they think that you could get a job like that. And I'm like, I couldn't work that job. I worked that job until I physically could not anymore and mentally could not anymore. It's really hard to be vulnerable in this country right now, because it's been 5 years of having people be very open about not caring if the immunocompromised and the vulnerable die in a pandemic in order to save the economy. I've been getting these messages for over 5 years now. I'm a cancer survivor. I had blood cancer. I was extremely susceptible to a bad reaction to COVID. I had lots of risk factors. And I worked from home. And so what I did is I locked myself down for probably a year and a half. And I never got COVID. But I probably wouldn't have had to do that. And that was the last year of my life before I got disabled and I was unable to enjoy my life. That was taken from me because this country valued the economy more than it valued the lives of vulnerable people. We couldn't take the steps we needed to take to keep it from becoming an endemic disease. They decided they wanted to just use herd immunity. And they took a year of my life from me. And they keep just casually doing this to people. And they'll never stop. It's a eugenicist nation. That's all I have to say. All right, Kim. Let's wrap it up. On that note, I love you, family members. Take care. Take care of your community.